Okay. Welcome to Hardrock MMA 93. I'm Kelly Patrick alongside David McKinney coming at you live from Heritage Hall here in Lexington, Kentucky. The first time Hardrock has ever had an event here at Heritage Hall. The continual progression of Hardrock and the growth evidenced by the 93 shows. I mean, that's a large number. Is shown. We saw Northern Kentucky earlier this year. And tonight, I think something that's also reflective of the growth within Hardrock would be the implementation of the 2 pro title fights. David, tell us the significance of these pro title fights.
Yeah, it's something fans have been asking for a long time, and especially the fighters. You know, they want to be able to show that they're ready for the next level. And these guys, you know, going out fighting the top opponents in the state and around the state of Kentucky, it's going to be huge for fighters to be able to have something to put on their wall, a banner, to really show and be able to say, hey, I'm the Hardrock MMA champion, the champion of one of the best promotions in the country.
We have 4 pro fights on tonight's card. The final 2 will be the pro title fights for the first time. The first pro fight we have is Charles Dove out of Club MMA versus Travis Connor of 4 Seasons here locally.
Yeah, and Charles Dove coming down from Cincinnati area. We saw him back at Hardrock MMA 89. That was after a 5-year layoff and came back in, got a big win over William Ewers. And that was huge for his confidence, and now he's going to look to keep it rolling here tonight against Travis Connor, who is in his hometown, Lexington, fighting out of 4 Seasons. Connor, last time we saw him, took a tough loss against a really tough guy in Nicholas Hubler-Scherf, but he's going to be looking to try to get back on the winning track here tonight with a victory over Dove.
Next pro fight we have on the card is Rowley Abbott out of Hard Knocks versus Harry Hunsucker out of Elite and 4 Seasons here in Lexington. Yeah, a heavyweight pro fight.
Yeah, and that's a couple of guys who have been around for a really long time. Rowley Abbott, 10 amateur fights, finally making his professional debut. Had 8 fights and then took a couple of year layoff and came back with a vengeance earlier this year and won his last 2 fights via knockout in under a minute each. And now really after a couple of fights falling through, he's finally able to get that pro debut in here against a really tough opponent in Harry Hunsucker. Hunsucker, though, the last time we saw him was a year and a half ago and took a tough loss against a guy in Dontel Mays. But Harry Hunsucker, make no mistake about it, he is always a game opponent and a really tough opponent for a pro debut.
Harry's certainly been around the scene for a long time. Anybody who goes against Dontel Mays will tell you that's not an easy fight.
Yeah, you know, the Dontel Mays, you know, made it to, you know, almost to the top level of sport within his first year as a pro, you know, fighting on Dana White's Contender Series. And that was, you know, the last fight for Harry Hunsucker. And Harry, you know, really, you know, I think he maybe just might have taken a step up too far. But I think that this might be a really good opponent here tonight for Rowley Abbott and Harry Hunsucker. It's going to be a good fight. One of those guys is going to get a really good win under their belt here.
The next pro fight in the first of our pro title fights would be Cameron VanCamp out of Team Heighton versus Q Parks out of Reaction MMA.
Exactly. When you talk about the VanCamp brothers.
Isn't there 3 of them?
Yeah, 3 VanCamp brothers. And, you know, my partner Juan Valley of our Bluegrass MMA likes to call them the Diaz brothers of local MMA, except instead of 2, you get 3 of them. So, you know, earlier on the night, we're going to see Kyle VanCamp compete, but Cameron really is a veteran fighter, normally a lightweight, but actually coming up to welterweight for this fight against a really tough opponent in Q Parks. Q Parks 6-0 coming out of Reaction MMA, but he really has been a little inactive over the past year. We haven't seen him in over a year. People are talking about him maybe being a next-level type fighter. If he gets a winner over Cameron VanCamp and gets that Hardrock MMA welterweight title, we might be seeing him at the next level within the next couple of months.
Certainly. In the final pro fight will also be a pro title fight. Tony Parker out of Vision versus Julio Gallegos out of Foundation and Killer Bees. It's a 205-pound pro title fight.
Exactly. We saw Julio Gallegos fight in Northern Kentucky a couple of months ago, and the crowd there was absolutely crazy. I can't imagine what it's going to be like here in his hometown of Lexington. This place is going to be absolutely electric tonight to see Julio Gallegos fighting at home. Tony Parker, we saw a really good win over Ron J. Loving earlier this year at Hardrock MMA 89, but you know went out of state and took a tough loss, but he's going to be trying to get a big win over here, get that Hardrock MMA light heavyweight title under his belt.
Should be a great night of fights. I really look forward to it. We appreciate B2 Digital and all the sponsors helping us with tonight's promotion.
Exactly. We've also got Man of War Harley Davidson, Title Boxing Club Lexington, and Parquet Drive-In, who are going to be great sponsors here tonight. We're going to tell you a little bit more about them the rest of the night. And if you want to join in on the conversation on social media, use hashtag HRMMA93 and we'll keep you up to date. You might even see yourself on the screen, your tweet on the screen with us tonight. But, Kelly, I think it's about time to get things underway.
Thank you for tuning in.
We're going to send things up to Jason Weinel to get things started.
Welcome, Lexington. What do you say?
I didn't.
We are back in Lexington. We thank you guys for showing up. And as you can tell, we've got a lot of people still coming in. So thanks for being on time and early. So thank you. Folks, we are so excited to be right here in Lexington. We do have a couple title sponsors that we want to thank out loud first. First off, B2 Digital, we want to thank them. We want to thank Title Boxing Club of Lexington. Yeah, don't piss them off. All right. Then also Man of War Harley Davidson. So you will be hearing those names. You also got a coupon when you walked in. Now some of you just walked in and just stuffed it in your purse, put it in your pocket, maybe even you accidentally threw it away. But read it. It's from Parkett, a Lexington staple right here. If you read it, you buy any meal, any drink at Parkett, you get your second meal free. The best four-letter F word, yes, free. So again, that coupon was handed to you at the door. Get that, go visit our friend Randy Kaplan over at Parkett off of Newsom Road. All right, who's excited? Because I'm pretty excited. Who's excited? Adam? Good. Folks, we are going to play, and we will address this later, but we're going to play the national anthem. We currently do not have a flag in the room at the moment, but if you could please rise, and we will play the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam, whose muskets in the bright stars through the perilous night, o'er the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streamed, and the rockets regulate those bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, sails that star-spangled banner, o'er the land of the free, in the
All right, ladies and gentlemen, please make your way into the building. But we are about to get some Hard Rock MMA action going right now. Again, Lexington, who's excited? All right, let's go ahead and introduce first, fighting out of the red corner, Luke DeYoung.
First fight of the night here at Hard Rock MMA 93. We've got Luke DeYoung making his way to the cage right now, making his way down to Lexington from Cincinnati, representing Vision MMA. And you see Jeremy Pender, the veteran fighter, in his corner right there. And if you're a young guy like Luke DeYoung making your amateur debut, 19 years old, that's a great guy to have in your corner.
Certainly. Jeremy Pender, we saw him fight, what was it, at Hard Rock? When did Pender last fight?
We saw him We saw him beat Charlie Stanford
That's right.
last at Hardrock MMA
Northern
91.
91 in Northern Kentucky.
That was a fight people had been waiting a long time to see. And I know some people are excited to see the debut here of Luke DeYoung, a high school rugby player. So you know he's definitely a tough guy.
175-pound bout. Kicking things off here at Heritage Hall in Lexington, Kentucky. Hardrock MMA 93. First fight of the night. Should be an action-packed night of fights.
Anthony Roach representing Team Hurt and head coach Timothy Hurt. It's actually a correction officer out in Shelby County, at Shelby County Detention Center, and said he heard, one of his buddies was doing some cage fighting and thought that, if I'm a correction officer, I'm a tough guy, that might be a good idea for me to go start trying to do some mixed martial arts training. Roach, 6 years the elder here, 25 years old against the 19-year-old Luke DeYoung. First fight of the night here, Luke DeYoung in the black with the red and the red glove tape. Anthony Roach in the black, also in black and red. He's got the blue glove tape, and our third man in the cage all night is going to be referee Rob Mooney. 175-pound catchweight bout here. Glove touch, you see definitely the reach advantage here for Luke DeYoung as Roach, right in front of our broadcast position, shoots him for that single leg, almost gets it, but DeYoung pops right back up.
Roach seems determined to get this to the ground at any cost.
And you see DeYoung using that underhook there to be able to keep himself on his feet. Roach finally with that trip takedown. DeYoung doing a good job regaining his guard here on the bottom. Roach trying to make some space here. DeYoung doing a good job staying active on the bottom here early in this fight.
Very aggressive guard from DeYoung, maintaining the contact with the head and aggressively keeping Roach close to him.
But this is right where Roach is going to want to be, up against the cage. There's not really any more room for DeYoung to try to back out here. Still in the guard of DeYoung is Anthony Roach here, but on top. Not a ton of strikes here from the top, more positioning so far.
DeYoung's corner is calling for the triangle choke.
And knowing his corner, Jeremy Pender, that's a
he knows what he's doing.
Specialty
Yes.
of Jeremy Pender as well.
Got to be careful. You got to keep that guard offensive, and he is going for the triangle. We'll see if that works.
He has that arm bar stuck in the guard too. You can see perfect position from our cameraman right there. You work in that high guard, and that's the advantage of being a much longer guy. 6'2" is Luke DeYoung here against a 5'10" Anthony Roach.
Once again, DeYoung is on the bottom. However, with his jiu-jitsu and his guard game, he's not at much of a disadvantage as you would assume.
Yeah, he seems pretty comfortable here off of his back. Roach has been really aggressive, really heavy top game, but hasn't really scored a ton thus far in the first round. Referee telling him they've got to work here. Under a minute to go in the first round. Roach postures up, throws a couple of shots there. Roach's corner calling for the Ezekiel choke.
Which could work.
Really rare choke, though, to try to hit Nogi
Yeah.
in mixed martial arts.
You do see it every once in a while, don't you?
Did see that in the UFC, I
From the
believe,
bottom.
a couple of months ago.
Wasn't that from the bottom?
Yeah. 10-second clap there. Both fighters try to explode to the bell.
Difficult round to judge. Roach was on top the entire time. You got to think the judges will err on the side of the guy on top.
Yeah, there wasn't a ton of damage really done by either guy, so I think that almost by default the judges are likely to give that round to Anthony Roach, who was on top there.
Once again, DeYoung cornered by Jeremy Pender.
Conversation here tonight. You might see yourself on screen. See a great shot there of Jeremy Pender in the corner of his young fighter, Luke DeYoung. I always think it's interesting in between rounds, the game plan of the fighters. You see DeYoung staying on his feet, whereas Roach elects to take the stool. I know a lot of guys want to, say that the blood can start to clot and things like that once you sit down, and a lot of times once you sit down, it's hard to get back up.
Sure.
I think that's for most times when you're tired, not just in a fight. But I think a lot of times too, it's partially a mental game as well.
Difficult to relate to the amount of energy exerted in one of these rounds for the average person who either is not trained at all or maybe even has done a little bit of jiu-jitsu or something like that. If you go a full round with one of these guys, that's an entirely different ballgame.
And a lot of it, especially for young guys, in your first fight, a lot of it really is, instead of the energy, it's just the adrenaline dump they always talk about. You see Roach
once again going for the takedown.
Yeah, ducks right under that straight right hand, ends up on top again here. You see him trying to throw this
DeYoung was
triangle
going
up.
for the omoplata. Is resorting to an open guard for DeYoung. Once again on the bottom, as we saw throughout the entire first round.
Roach, even though the guard here of DeYoung seems to be open, really doesn't seem to be working
on posturing up and
posturing
breaking
up
it.
and also trying to pass.
No, exactly.
That might be the respect that he learned from the jiu-jitsu game of Luke DeYoung in the first round.
Well, if we said Roach won the first round, then why change his strategy now? His goal is to win this fight, and if Roach is on the top, and that means he's going to win.
You hear Jeremy Pender telling him, Luke DeYoung, to grab his shin. He has a good position here for a triangle as Roach trying to turn his way out here. That's just a really strong wrestler power pass.
Looks
there.
like he is getting closer to, well, that's low now.
He needs to pull that left shin
up behind his knee.
And Roach, you see the posture broken there.
Roach has not attempted to posture up and break this at all. It looks like the triangle
Really
may be
deep
sunk in.
Yeah, it looks like and Roach does
And
tap.
it is. Very impressive showing of jiu-jitsu from
Nice
Luke
also
DeYoung.
use of patience there as well.
Sure.
You saw the two takedowns early in both rounds, but Luke DeYoung trusting in his jiu-jitsu there and able to pull off the triangle. And again, that's the advantage of you having those long limbs. Makes it a lot easier to lock in that triangle choke.
Very impressive debut for Luke DeYoung at a Vision.
19 years old, and that gym just continues to produce top-level talent. Of course, Dominique Steele, UFC veteran.
Just had a win over Portland Pringle, I believe. Very impressive debut for Luke DeYoung.
At 19 years old. We'll definitely see him back here inside the Hardrock MMA cage sooner rather than later.
I look forward to it. I want to thank a couple of our sponsors. We have Man O' War, Harley Davidson at 2073 Bryant Road in Hamburg. Go see Jason and Josh, where your dream has never been closer. Go to ManoWarHD.com. Big thanks to Man-O-War Harley Davidson. Also, local restaurant here in Lexington, Parquet Drive-In at 1230 East New Circle Road. They have great burgers, chicken, and fish. Thank you very much to Parquet Drive-In.
I've actually been to Parquet, even being a Ohio guy. I know people drive from states away to go to that place. It's definitely an awesome place, and I know the folks that were here in attendance were lucky enough to get a buy one, get one free coupon, so I may have to scout one of those out and hit up Parquet on the way home.
And circling back around to Man-O-War Harley Davidson, look no further than our man Jason in the center of the ring. He'll help you out there. Also want to thank Title Boxing Club Lexington. The best hour of your day is found at Title Boxing Club in any of their power hours. They give you a boxer's workout that is high-intensity interval training with excellent boxing and kickboxing. Their professional trainers will lead you through 60 minutes of the most kick-butt workout in town. Get your first class free and hit it hard. Check them out online or on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter at Title Boxing Club Lexington.
And making his way to the cage here, Jesse Romans, 2 wins and 2 losses. 24-year-old out of RT Fight Team. And interesting story, made his debut back in February, 8 months ago, and this is already his 5th fight, 2-2. Last time we saw him was a victory over Julius Moore at Hardrock MMA 89. Submitted Julius via strikes in less than a minute. Also, already has competed in a title fight in his young career, so a guy who not shy. Once he gets in there once, let's keep doing it. He had his first 4 fights within 3 months.
This guy came, in my eyes, completely off the radar in February. He came in with a very impressive showing, and as you said, since February, this is his 5th fight.
Yeah.
Very active, young heavyweight. The fans like to see the heavyweights.
Said he started training a few years ago and injured his hand and decided to finally get back in there and take some fights this year.
If anyone would like the words to that song, Eric has them. And fighting out of the B2 digital blue corner, Gavin Hernandez.
And Gavin Hernandez, 19 years old. Originally from California, where he was a state champion wrestler. And a little bit of an interesting story here. Romans, before he broke his hand a couple of years ago when he started training, was training at Georgetown MMA. Now with Rodney Thomas at RT Fight Team, Gavin Hernandez coming out of Georgetown MMA. So interesting to see that they're going to debut here against a former member of their gym. Georgetown MMA, of course, right outside of Lexington. A lot of guys coming out of that camp now as well, especially, you see a lot of guys with the jiu-jitsu background, of course, training under Adam Gomez. And be really interesting to see the level of kickboxing and wrestling here from Gavin Hernandez.
Adam Gomez is in attendance tonight. Normally, we give him a few shout-outs through the show. We've already got one out of the way to Adam Gomez.
260 pounds, representing Triple Crown MMA via RT Fight Team from Williamstown, Kentucky, Jesse Chrysler Roman.
Once again, we want to thank Title Boxing Club Lexington. The best hour of your day is found at Title Boxing Club in any of their power hours. They give you a boxer's workout that is high-intensity interval training with excellent boxing and kickboxing. Their professional trainers will lead you through 60 minutes of the most kick-butt workout in town. Get your first class free and hit it hard. Check them out online or on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter at Title Boxing Club Lexington. Another one of our sponsors is Man-O-War Harley Davidson at 2073 Bryant Road in Hamburg. Go see Jason and Josh, where your dream has never been closer. ManoWarHD.com.
And good luck telling Jason and Josh apart as well.
Yes, they're twins. The man in the middle of the cage right now is our man Jason Weinel. Great.
I think
we
it's
think
Jason.
he is. His brother's right over here. You see his twin? At cage side.
Always has the glass. That's the only way you can tell.
Not a doppelganger. They are actually twins.
They wear the same facial hair too, so that makes it even harder to tell them apart.
Also, local restaurant Parquet Drive-In at 1230 East New Circle Road here in Lexington. They have great burgers, chicken, and fish. Check them out. We appreciate the support of Parquet Drive-In.
And next bout here, another heavyweight bout making his way to the cage. Ricky Muse, 1-0 on his career, and I don't know how much we want to get into it, but his first bout ended in kind of an unfortunate manner. Out of respect to him, I don't want to talk too much about it, but really just said, hey, I got to get back in there. I got to see if this is something I really want to do. If I want to keep fighting and see if this is somewhere I want to go. So much respect to him to get back in there. Really interesting guy. You say he's been training in ninjutsu ryu for about 8 years and really just prefers to the old school way of training. So really interesting guy. You're going to see a little bit of unorthodox style here from Ricky Muse.
After that unfortunate incident, Ricky Muse handled himself with the utmost class and has ever since then. So Ricky 1-0 on his amateur career, getting a second crack at things tonight.
Yeah, I know a lot of people in the MMA community did and continue to reach out to Ricky Muse, and that just kind of shows the power of the MMA community. So definitely awesome to see him back in there tonight, taking on a guy in his debut here in JC Cantrell. Trains with the guy you'll see in one of our pro bouts later on tonight, Harry Hunsucker, at Elite MMA in Richmond, Kentucky. So he has a boxing, kickboxing background, also has a blue belt in jiu-jitsu, and said, I asked him, I said, what are your plans for fighting? He said, I'm too old to make a career out of this. This is just a bucket list thing for me. So also has a master's in science from Eastern Kentucky and helps teach online classes at that school as well. So pretty close to his hometown here in
about half an hour.
Richmond, yeah. So Eastern Kentucky Colonels, right?
Eastern Kentucky Colonels, yes, sir.
A little bit of a crowd ovation here for JC Cantrell.
JC Cantrell in the blue corner, the blue gloves. Ricky Muse in the red corner, the red gloves.
Representing Ninjutsu Ryu from Wallingford, Kentucky, Ricky Muse. And fighting out of the B2 Digital Blue Corner, weighing at 250 pounds, representing Elite from Richmond, Kentucky, JC Cantrell.
Again, heavyweight bout here. Hardrock MMA 93.
Live here at Heritage Hall in Lexington, Kentucky.
And an interesting stare down. You saw the JC Cantrell was getting fired up pretty intense. Ready to get it started here. And Ricky Muse, the more laid back guy. And Cantrell landed a couple of big shots right off the bat. Muse answers back here. Muse now starting to try to tee off. Cantrell backing up. Cantrell lands a right hand. A little bit of a wild start to this bout here.
Muse not shying away from the action either.
And Cantrell pushing the action here up against the cage. Much shorter guy, got to get on the inside of the taller Ricky Muse. Looks like Cantrell maybe trying to use some of that wrestling and jiu-jitsu background. Picks Muse up and slams him down to the mat.
And the fans love that, showing the local support.
And side control and teeing off, and that is a lot of action there in that short fight. You see JC Cantrell still posing for the camera.
Ladies and gentlemen, 54 seconds of the very first round. Your winner, referee stoppage due to unanswered strikes, JC Cantrell.
JC Cantrell now 1-0 on his career. Kelly, I think the fans definitely got the word that Hardrock MMA is debuting in Lexington tonight here at Heritage Hall.
Yeah. Very nice crowd.
Got an announcement here from Jason Wino. I know what this is. You might want to listen in.
No, but we have a main event that was supposed to fight on this card tonight. So I want to bring up from 10th Planet, Adam Fritz.
If you can't find Adam Fritz, just look for the mullet. There it is. We found it. He doesn't have the mullet anymore, though, unfortunately.
No. still has a very youthful look to him. This was going to be the main event of tonight's card. Injury determined that the fight wouldn't happen tonight, but sounds like it's March 3rd. Just a black belt in Taekwondo and Jiu-Jitsu, that's all for Jamal Muhammad.
This fight, I know, I was pumped to see.
Adam Fritz. This is, they are fighting our 140-pound catchweight main event right here, March 3rd. This is them. And I'm telling you right now, you don't want to miss this one. We've got a lot of Jamel and a lot of Adam Fancy Pants fans in the room tonight. Off this place on March 3rd. Okay, one of you can blink, kiss, hug. All right. Now, like I was saying, this fight was supposed to happen tonight, but something happened. What might have happened, Jamel?
I got my eyes split wide open with the knee in training, so I'm going to be out for a little bit, but March 3rd I'll be ready to go.
Nice. I'm not going to say no more training, no more pulling behind a single leg into your face from your sparring partner.
Jason's advising Jamal not to train anymore.
I just want to put both of these guys in bubble wrap so that they show up here March 3rd.
Such a great matchup of two of the most up-and-coming fighters in not only the state, but the entire region. I shouldn't even say up-and-coming fighters. These are two very established professionals.
We weren't going to main event this card anyway. This is a main event fight, so I'm glad we're getting that March 3rd.
That's what I like to hear.
That is exactly correct. That is a main event fight, both of those guys. And you see how excited they both are. Absolutely no animosity between those two, but that's going to make a fantastic fight, and it's just unfortunate we have to wait about 5 months to see that.
Muhammad out of 4 seasons in Lexington.
Also Lexington Taekwondo and Jiu-Jitsu.
And Adam Fritz obviously at a 10th Planet AFS in Richmond, so just half an hour away.
They're going to pack this place.
Oh my goodness.
The rest of the fighters in that card may not have any tickets to sell. So if you're a fighter, that might be a good fight card if you don't want to have to sell any tickets. We are going to take a short intermission here. 3 more amateur fights still left to go, and then we will jump into our professional action on the night here. So sit tight. We'll be right back. Hardrock MMA 93.
Don't forget, folks, we got the lovely ring girls over here to my left. Get your picture taken with the lovely ring girls.
are you going to make this year's, this next Olympics? All right. What is your name? Samantha Kinchin. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right, folks, making your way back to your seat. Now, if you guys remember the girl in red that I told you not to mess with, she actually qualified 5th for the Olympic boxing team. I told you not to mess with her. Also, she will be qualifying for the 2020 Olympic team. And I told you, don't mess with her. Samantha, K-I-N-N-J. I knew I was going to try to mess that up, but she wouldn't let me. She's going to whoop my ass. So Samantha Kitchen, Google her. I'm not lying. I can't make that stuff up. It came straight from her. So again, your Olympian, Samantha Kitchen, right there, folks. Give it up. I wasn't joking. Don't mess with me. All right, let's go ahead and bring out. But before we do I need to remind you that we have 4 professional fights tonight? It sounds like I do. We have 4 professional fights tonight. Who's excited? Much better. Love Lexington. All right, let's go ahead and bring out our next fight in the 125-pound weight division. Introducing first, fighting out of the red corner, Cam Taylor.
Already back in action here at Hardrock MMA 93. We're going to go to the flyweights, Cam Taylor and Jared Morris. A couple of guys who have been around for a little while. Cam Taylor 1-3, Jared Morris 1-4, so not the greatest records, but this should still be a really interesting fight here between a couple of guys who from pretty reputable camps. Cam Taylor representing Daryl Ray and Patriot MMA. Those guys always very active on the local MMA
tough
scene.
crew. Daryl Ray produces a lot of very tough fighters. I don't see Daryl Ray walking out with them.
Does look like no Daryl Ray in the house tonight. Cam Taylor started off his career 0-3 and was able to get a win in his last bout last month, actually 2 months ago now, over Ron Eichelberger. First round submission via guillotine, so looking to make it 2 in a row here tonight is Cam Taylor.
And introducing his opponent, right out of the B2 digital 1 corner, Jared Morris.
Jared Morris, another Team Hurt fighter, one of Timothy Hurt's guys out of Lawrenceburg, Kentucky. Brown belt in jiu-jitsu. Just 1-4 in his career. That win over Terrence Owens back last year. Then took about a year off. Saw him at Hardrock MMA 92 down in Shepherdsville. Came up short against Devin Siebold, but already back in action here, trying to pick up his second win of his career is Team Hurt's Jared Morris. Morris, I know, also does some cross-training with Mike O'Donnell and the crew at 4 Seasons MMA.
Wearing a gi top to the ring. I was going to say, when you said brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, they don't just hand those out, I don't think.
That's right, especially, under some elite guys. And, he trains with guys like Julio Gallegos, Adam Gomez. You're training with those guys, and you're going to say you're a brown belt, you better really be a brown belt.
Good for him for having the confidence and being that proud of his brown belt to wear the gi top. I don't know that I've seen that before. The gi top with the brown belt to the cage.
Yeah, I've seen that a couple times, but not as common as you would think, especially with how many guys have a jiu-jitsu background and mixed martial arts. And I know that Jared Morris also told me he likes to teach Brazilian jiu-jitsu and striking to kids and teens as well. So passing some of that knowledge on is Jared Morris.
Hoist wore the gi in some of the earliest UFC events.
Introducing first, fighting out of the red corner, weighing in at 124 pounds, representing Patriot MMA, right here in Lexington, Kentucky, Nine Tails Taylor. And introducing his opponent, fighting out of the B2 digital blue corner, weighing in at 124 pounds, representing Team Hurt from Lawrenceburg, Kentucky, Jared the Dragon Morris.
Nice crowd ovation there for Jared Morris. Flyweight bout here, Cam Taylor in the red, white, and blue of Patriot MMA. Jared Morris in the black and white. Referee Rob Mooney, third man in the cage here.
These guys are fast.
Cam Taylor, very tall flyweight. 5'9" is what he's listed. I mean, he might even be taller than that. Straight left hand stumbles Morris right off the bat. Throws that lead left. Look at it, caught Morris right on the nose. Another leg kick there. On top. Looking to try to throw some shots here.
Morris locking the leg down.
Yeah, trying to get back in his guard here is Morris. Doing a good job getting that right knee tucked under the belly of Cam Taylor. Morris now almost has the guard fully cinched back
Looks like
up.
he may be going for a guillotine already.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough position to try to finish this, especially against a really long guy like Cam Taylor.
Doing a good job of maintaining the top for now. We'll see how long that lasts against a jiu-jitsu.
You see the crazy flexibility there of Taylor. And he taps. That was tight.
Wow.
Nice job by Taylor hanging on to that guillotine. Or excuse me, Morris hanging on to the guillotine and forcing the tap from Cam Taylor. That was an action-packed bout there for probably about a minute. And then it was over. And Morris using that brown belt in jiu-jitsu to pick up his second win via submission on his career.
Many schools and academies get away from the gi, but Morris showing that the brown belt in jiu-jitsu with the gi certainly translates to the cage.
Ladies and gentlemen, 1 minute, 14 seconds of the very first round. Your winner, tap out due to guillotine choke, Jared the Dragon Morris.
Jared Morris moving up to 2-4. His MMA career, nice win there over Cam Taylor. As you mentioned, yeah, I definitely agree. You know, gi jiu-jitsu really is one of the more underrated aspects of mixed martial arts. A lot of guys shy away from using the gi in mixed martial arts, but that's really, you know, kind of one of the big things in, you know, learning the gi. It's a lot easier to control your opponent, things like that, but
It seems any way you can advance your grappling game in jiu-jitsu, as many describe as kind of wrestling on steroids, or you know, an advanced version of wrestling. I know that may offend some of our viewers who are wrestling fans. However, any way you can advance your grappling and jiu-jitsu game, especially if you get up to the purple, brown, or even black belt level, it has to help you in the cage.
exactly.
As long as you use it. As long as you're able to use it.
November? What was it? Wimpy, right? Is it your last name? Wimpy? Wimpy, like W-I-M-P-Y? Sorry, W-E-M-P-Y. This guy's here on his bachelor party. So Wimpy goes to an MMA match I went to for his bachelor party. You're getting married.
I want to thank a few of our sponsors for tonight's, first and foremost, the free stream, which is great. Everybody's able to watch the fights from the comfort of your own couch. B2 Digital, trading at BTDG. We want to thank Porquette Drive-In at 1230 East New Circle Road here in Lexington. They have great burgers, chicken, and fish. Once again, we want to thank our sponsor, Parquet Drive-In. Also, Man O' War Harley-Davidson at 2073 Bryant Road in Hamburg. Go see Jason and Josh. Good luck telling them apart. Man O' War Harley-Davidson, where your dream has never been closer. ManoWarHD.com. Also, Title Boxing Club Lexington. The best hour of your day is found at Title Boxing Club in any of their power hours. They give you a boxer's workout that is high-intensity interval training with excellent boxing and kickboxing. Their professional trainers will lead you through 60 minutes of the most kick-butt workout in town. Get your first class free and hit it hard. Check them out online or on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter at Title Boxing Club Lexington.
Moving along after, of course, great thank you to our sponsor, and thank you to those tuning in to the free stream, whether you're on YouTube, Facebook, or bluegrassmma.com. Next bout is our most experienced amateurs of the night. We've got Kyle VanCamp representing Team Highton out of the Indianapolis area. Of course, Coach Joe Highton, and one of the infamous or famous VanCamp brothers is Kyle VanCamp. Kyle 8-5 on his amateur career, 26 years old. Last time we saw him was in January. Close loss against Kier Ross. He is actually making here his Hardrock MMA debut, as he will take on Kevin Avery in a lightweight bout here at Hardrock MMA 93. And if you've never seen the VanCamp brothers fight and compete, then you're definitely in for a treat.
Not often that you get two brothers who can compete at this level. Really, we have Stone and Ken Beverly who are really making a good go at it. But even beyond that, to have three is absolutely uncommon.
Yeah, I don't know of any other set of three brothers, and I may be incorrect, but three brothers all competing at a very high level of mixed martial arts is really rare.
The Gracies, but even the Gracies that are brothers, Henzo and Hickson would be cousins.
Yeah, it's definitely very rare. And
I guess at one point maybe Half, Henzo, and Hyen were all competing at Pride, but that was many years ago. So I mean, it's that you have to go that far back.
And it's you're really interesting three guys that were all kind of came up together and really all very experienced at this point, and tough opponents for anybody. And the thing about these guys is they will fight anybody. They'll fight anybody anywhere. I know, I believe Kellen VanCamp and Cameron, I believe, went out to Idaho and represented Hardrock MMA at an event out there. So definitely really tough set of brothers. And we have Kevin Avery here making his way to the cage. Last time we saw him, Hardrock 86, a TKO win over Ricky Jones Jr. He also has competed for the Hardrock MMA lightweight title on two separate occasions in his career. Lightweight action here at Hardrock MMA 93. Kyle VanCamp in the blue with the gray trim. Kevin Avery in the black and checker. Third man in the cage is Rob Mooney. And as I mentioned, these are a couple of very experienced amateurs. Got over 20 bouts combined between them. Southpaw is Kevin Avery. The clinch up against the cage here early on from Avery.
Kevin Avery with the takedown. VanCamp managing to get on top position.
Yeah, Avery was looking for that lat drop there, and VanCamp just kind of fell down on top of him. Initially had top position, but Avery able to transition. All three of the VanCamp brothers have a great wrestling background. Both of these guys are very well-rounded. Nice left hand over the top there from Avery. You see VanCamp trying to work the butterfly guard here. I think at least the half butterfly guard on that left side, and has that overhook. Looks like he might be trying to thread his leg up there for a potential triangle attempt, or maybe trying to elevate Kevin Avery on the top. Taking a couple of shots there is VanCamp. He's still trying to set up. I believe it looks like he's trying to do a sweep here. Now has that full butterfly guard, but Avery still trying to work on top, throwing a couple of shots. Avery does a good job stepping over the leg of VanCamp. VanCamp now has a hold of that neck. That's really going to halt the forward movement there of Kevin Avery. Avery now passes to side control, pops his neck out.
VanCamp maintaining a form of open guard.
A lot of jiu-jitsu back and forth, just small transitions.
VanCamp with the beautiful sweep.
Nice. I believe that was a scissor sweep there, it looked like.
About as textbook as they come.
And it looked like he was setting that up and now trying to lock in a submission here from the top. He is in the half guard here of Avery and trying to get that left foot out. Now is in on top, throwing some shots here. And this one might
trying to end the fight with strikes.
That one, nice job by Kyle VanCamp, hitting that sweep.
Once again, it goes back to some good old-fashioned textbook jiu-jitsu with the sweep, leading to the technical mount.
And again, you
and
saw
the strikes that end the fight.
And you saw the patience there from VanCamp. You know, he was in a bad spot there, but he waited for Avery to make the position of he lifted his hips, I believe, a little bit too much, and that's where the sweep came in. VanCamp ended up on top and ended the fight with strikes. Talk about the well-roundedness of Kyle VanCamp. 3 wins via knockout, 3 via submission, and 2 via decision heading into this bout.
Ladies and gentlemen, 2 minutes, 14 seconds of the very first round. Our referee Mooney has called a stoppage to the fight due to unanswered strikes. Your winner, Kyle Southside VanCamp.
And that's 1 win for the VanCamp brothers on the night. Cameron will look to try to bring home the first ever Hardrock MMA welterweight title later on tonight in our co-main event. Of course, Jason Wino reminding you there. That's a fight, you know, not to get too much into it at this point, but I asked about a dozen people, and I think I got split right down the middle between Q Parks and Cameron VanCamp. Who's going to win that one? That's going to be a great fight, about as even a matchup as you can get on this level.
I've seen Q Parks. I think it may have been here in Lexington one time. Just absolutely explosive knockout power.
You've got VanCamp moving up from lightweight. That's going to be a really tough battle there for him to move up from 155 pounds and take on the type of fighter like Q Parks. I want to remind you, if you're watching online, tweet comments to us using hashtag HRMMA93 on Twitter. Whether you're watching, let us know how you're watching, whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook or on Bluegrass.
SF put on, and they're nearing on 100 events. Not very common
in his young career. Started at Team Kraken with the catch wrestling there, with guys like Brian McDowell, Coach Jay Grooms, and Brian McLeese. When he was just 14 years old, and he said, well, I wanted to start when I was 5, so that's a little bit late for me, but 19 years old now in his 5th amateur MMA bout here at Hardrock MMA 93. Cody Smith tonight making his Hardrock MMA debut, representing 4 Seasons MMA out of Lexington, Kentucky. And you hear the I'm Coming Home.
Very aggressive.
And I don't know.
Intimidating song.
I don't know if the coming home means coming home to Lexington or coming home to the cage because this is the first time we've seen him in action since 2014.
He's got a hell of a posse with him.
Of course, the training staff at Four Seasons, second to none. You got Stoney Dennis, Mike Seals, Mike O'Donnell. Great team, and of course a great group of guys to work with. You got Julio Gallegos there, Jamal Muhammad, Travis Connor, who we're going to see later on tonight. Just an absolute murderer's row of fighters out of that camp. You've also got just a ton of really, really tough fighters.
Such a successful camp, 4 seasons. They've got to be happy not only that Hard Rock is here tonight, but as was announced earlier, March 3rd, we'll be right back here in Lexington.
Yeah, and Hard Rock really started to kind of branch out, as you mentioned, and of course Louisville and Shepherdsville, Bowling Green, but also expanding to Northern Kentucky, and then now for the first time in Lexington. So
absolutely dominating the state of Kentucky.
Division. Introducing first, fighting out of the red corner, weighing in at 156 pounds, representing the Kraken Fight Team from Maysville, Kentucky, Matt Moore. And introducing his opponent, fighting out of the B2 digital blue corner, weighing in at 154 pounds, representing Four Seasons from right here in Lexington, Kentucky, Smith.
lightweight action here, Hard Rock MMA 93. Matt Moore in the white and red trunks, Cody Smith in the black and gray. Rob Mooney is the referee for this bout. Fast start here from Cody Smith. But it's Moore with, it grabs hold of his neck, looking at
Moore with the knees.
Nice uppercut straight left there.
Moore to the ground. Very action-packed fight. Almost a rubber guard to start things off.
Moore rolls through. Smith now has a hold of the neck.
Wow, this could be quick. Nope.
Moore has his head out. And this was where we saw him a lot in the fight against Colin Kumpf. On top, and Kumpf really looking for submissions the whole time, but unable to lock anything in. Definitely saw a great submission defense from Matt Moore on the top. But a little bit more experienced opponent here in Cody Smith. A big step up, you might say, for Matt Moore in this fight. Moore stands up out of the guard, dives back in and lands a big right hand on Cody Smith.
Moore said, Smith, you want to keep this on the ground? I'll let you do that.
And now the nice sweep there from Cody Smith, and he has this choke here tight.
Darce choke is in. Is it
And
enough?
he needs to
into the mount. Oh, yeah, that hits quick.
Yeah, and he needed to grab hold of Matt Moore with the leg and lock in the hook there, and did, and finish it. As soon as he did, he finished it.
Especially if you can turn that into a Darce from the mount. You saw how quickly that hit.
A nice win there for Cody Smith after 3 years off. Comes back against a young prospect and gets the big win.
Tells me he's been doing some jiu-jitsu in his 3 years off.
He's been doing something, still got the six
Yeah.
pack, so he
Yeah,
hasn't
he
been
looks
sitting on
great.
the couch.
Yep.
All right, these ring girls are getting off easy. Not like that. One-rounders. Michael, Jody. All right, ladies and gentlemen, 1 minute, 27 seconds. Your winner, tap out via Darce choke, Cody Smith.
First win of the night there for Four Seasons. When we jump into our pro ranks, they're going to look for 3 more with Travis Connor, Harry Hunsucker, and Julio Gallegos. Excuse me, not Julio Gallegos. But 2 more guys representing Four Seasons.
Definitely very strong representation from the hometown gym of four seasons here in Lexington.
Exactly, and as you just heard from our ring announcer, Jason Lionel, our last intermission of the night, then we're going to jump into 4 professional bouts here. But before we do that, we're going to talk about some great sponsors here at Hardrock MMA 93.
We appreciate the support from all of our sponsors, including B2 Digital, trading at BTDG. B2 Digital is bringing you tonight's free stream, allowing you to watch the fights from the comfort of your own home. We also want to thank Title Boxing Club Lexington. The best hour of your day is found at Title Boxing Club in any of their power hours. They give you a boxer's workout that is high-intensity interval training with excellent boxing and kickboxing. Their professional trainers will lead you through 60 minutes of the most kick-butt workout in town. Get your first class free and hit it hard. Check them out online or on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter at Title Boxing Club Lexington. Once again, we want to thank Title Boxing Club Lexington. We also want to thank Man O' War Harley Davidson at 2073 Bryant Road in Hamburg. Go see Jason and Josh, where your dream has never been closer. ManoWarHD.com. Also want to give a big shout out to a local restaurant here in Lexington, Parquet Drive-In at 1230 East New Circle Road. They have great burgers, chicken, and fish. David, you said you've actually been to Parquet and have had a great experience.
Yeah, I know a lot of people, like I said, drive from states away to go to that place, and it is definitely worth it.
Kind of a 1950s theme.
Definitely, you get the drive-in, diner theme, diner feel. It's a place that, you get that kind of down-home cooking. You don't have to dress up or get fancy to go there, and you can go there and get a great meal, some great food there from Parquet Drive-In.
So once again, Parquet Drive-In, Man O' War Harley Davidson here at 2073 Bryant Road in Hamburg. Title Boxing Club Lexington, and of course B2 Digital, trading at BTDG, which is bringing you the free stream for tonight's action. We're going to head to an intermission. Be sure to stay tuned. David and I will be back with more of Hardrock MMA 93.
This is a full 15-minute intermission. So you have to do number 2. Now would be a good time. Darren.
Avery. I'm going back to Wolves, Mike.
You can stay here for 4 more fights.
Yeah. Welcome back, Hardrock MMA 93. We are at Heritage Hall in Lexington, Kentucky. Just about set to go with the pro bouts on the night. Kelly Patrick here alongside. I'm David McKinney. Kelly, what do you got for me over there?
First, I want to say I'm Kelly Patrick. I host the Weekend Sports Buzz every Sunday morning in the Louisville, Southern Indiana market on 96.1 FM, 1450 AM, WXVW. You can stream the shows live at 1450thesportsbuzz.com. Also want to thank our sponsors for tonight. We have B2 Digital, trading at BTDG. B2 Digital is bringing you tonight's free stream, so you can watch the fights from the comfort of your couch at your home. Also want to thank Title Boxing Club Lexington. The best hour of your day is found at Title Boxing Club in any of their power hours. They give you a boxer's workout that is high-intensity interval training with excellent boxing and kickboxing. Their professional trainers will lead you through 60 minutes of the most kick butt workout in town. Get your first class free and hit it hard. Check them out online or on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter at Title Boxing Club Lexington. Also want to thank Man O' War Harley Davidson at 2073 Bryant Road in Hamburg. Go see Jason and Josh, where your dream has never been closer. Visit them at manowarhd.com. Also a local restaurant here in Lexington, Parquet Drive-In at 1230 East New Circle Road. They have great burgers, chicken, and fish. Once again, we want to thank Parquet Drive-In, Title Boxing Club Lexington, and Man O' War Harley Davidson.
Just about set. Charles Dove making his way to the cage here. And I also did want to mention, join the conversation you see in the lower left hand of your screen, hashtag HRMMA93. And you saw during our intermission there some of those tweets that we have coming out on the night. So make sure that you yourself use that hashtag, and you might be able to see your tweet on the screen here later on tonight. Got Charles Dove here making his way down from the Cincinnati area, the Queen City, down to Lexington, 2-2 on his career. And Dove, a really interesting story. We saw him made his pro debut all the way back in 2012, and then took a 5-year break, a short 5-year break, and came back earlier this year, looked better than ever, picked up a big win over William Ewers at Hardrock MMA 89. So he definitely was able to get back on the winning track.
Not only is
Big
Dove
win for him.
2-2 as a professional, very successful amateur career, 7-3 record. So despite his hiatus, he's back into the winning way of things. And this is a big fight for him tonight.
Representing Club MMA, you see Nicholas Hubler-Scherf in his corner.
Oh, yeah. Hubler-Scherf with his very stylish top hat.
Now his opponent is going to be Travis Connor, fighting out of Lexington, Kentucky, and 4 Seasons MMA. Travis Connor also had a great amateur record, 7-1, and then made his pro debut last year. Has a victory over Yemi Odawale, but the last time we saw Travis Connor, he was fighting Nicholas Hubler-Scherf, who is in the corner of Charles Dove here tonight.
Fell victim to that very crafty game of Hubler-Scherf with the arm-in triangle.
Yeah, and you got to think that Hubler-Scherf is giving his fighters some tips on how to deal with the huge power and strength of Travis Connor here tonight. You see the 4 Seasons faithful right behind us here at Hardrock MMA 93, and a couple of really good gyms here, Club MMA and 4 Seasons. Again, as we mention every time, 4 seasons, the excellent coaching staff down there, Mike Seals, Michael O'Donnell, and Stoney Dennis. They've produced tons of great fighters out of that gym. But Club MMA, coming out of Cincinnati, is going to try to go 2-0 over Travis Connor here.
Travis Connor looked great, I thought, against Hubler-Scherf. Through the fight, unfortunately, Hubler-Scherf and his grappling expertise was able to come away with the victory, his crafty submission, but a lot of positives to take away from that fight for Travis Connor. Connor with a very aggressive entrance into the cage. He looks great.
Weighing at 181 pounds, representing Club MMA from Cincinnati, Ohio, Charles Dove. And introducing his opponent, fighting out of the B2 Digital Blue Corner, weighing at 179 pounds, representing 4 seasons from right here in Lexington, Kentucky, Travis Connor.
180-pound catchweight bout here, Hardrock MMA 93. Charles Dove in the blue, Travis Connor in the black. Rob Mooney is the referee, and as you heard Jason Weinel mention, these will be the 5-minute rounds of the professionals here. 3 5-minute rounds. Our title fights will be 5 5-minute rounds.
A little bit more liberal rules than the amateurs.
Of course, the elbows are now legal. See the southpaw Dove trying to make his way inside that range of Travis Connor. Dove going to try to get this fight to the ground. That is his bread and butter.
Once again, Dove out of the red corner with the red tape around his wrist. Connor out of the blue corner with the blue tape around his wrist. Connor against the cage. Dove is trying to formulate some kind of a takedown.
You see Connor with that overhook on the left hand. Not quite a full whizzer here, but if he wants to stay on his feet, he's going to need to use that to keep Dove.
Those knees to the outside or inside of the thighs do not feel good.
And it briefly looked like Travis Connor was looking at the ref and maybe complaining about something. I'm not sure if he was maybe already asking for a separation or what that was, but Dove trying to work those knees here right as his corner asked for them. Referee Rob Mooney telling Charles Dove that he has to improve his position. You see Dove doing a good job putting that forehead in the chin of Travis Connor, making it hard for Connor to dig that underhook.
A few boos from the crowd. Not the most exciting action thus far.
And this is the fighting style of Charles Dove. You're going to see very tactical, and he's going to try to go step by step. First step is get the fight to the ground, and that's going to be tough against a really strong guy like Travis Connor.
He's trying to win the fight. These are 5-minute rounds. No sense in exhausting yourself out of the gate, although I'm sure there's plenty of energy being exerted from both fighters.
Yeah, clinch work up against the cage, really one of the most tiring things you can do. But a lot of fighters, if you train and grind like that, if you're a wrestler with a wrestling background like Charles Dove, then that's a huge advantage over your opponent. If you can clinch fight like this for 3 5-minute rounds, this is a good way to gas out your opponent, especially a really muscle-bound guy like Travis Connor. Connor trying to get some separation there. Knee from Connor off the cage, and they separate. You hear the ovation from the crowd. Connor with a nice left hook there.
He said Charles Dove is trying to tactically win this fight at all costs. Travis Connor also sitting at 1-2, trying to bring his record up to 500 as a professional.
And Connor might have settled in a little bit more now. He might realize it's going to be really hard for Dove to take him down. He has that left arm over the head of Dove, but let's go with that. Dove now trying to hook the third point down, but interestingly enough, I believe Kentucky has not adopted the new rules of amateur or mixed martial arts unified rules, which means that he has to actually have a third point completely down. The fingertip does not count.
Okay.
But I believe Kentucky has not adopted that rule as of yet. Dove really trying to wrangle Travis Connor to the ground here, and Connor so far having none of it.
Very deliberate strategy thus far for Charles Dove. Getting him against the cage and working some knees to the thighs while trying to take Connor to the ground.
Has a big body lock here. Big bear hug from Charles Dove.
Connor is proving not to be an easy guy to take down.
You see that fingertip on the ground for Travis Connor now.
Crowd not too enthusiastic about the perceived, at least, lack of action.
Especially when it's the hometown guy, you know,
Sure.
really getting kind of stymied and stifled there. His back up against the cage. That's a tough position when it's a really strong guy on top of you like Charles Dove. Into the first round there.
Professional fighters in the state of Kentucky get 60 seconds.
1 minute in between rounds for the fighters to recover. You got to believe that's going to be one round there for Charles Dove. And I believe if you're in the corner of Travis Connor, they're telling him you got to sprawl and get those hips out and not let Dove grab a hold of you. You're doing a good job of staying on your feet, but it's going to be hard to win the fight with your back against the cage.
Got to say, Dove, I guess, won the first round. Not the most exciting fashion. However, as we said, his tactical strategy, very deliberate, not appeasing the fan base here locally. He's from Cincinnati. But if you won the first round in a 5-round fight, that's what you want to do. See if Dove can continue his momentum from the first round.
This is definitely the old adage, the wrestler versus the striker here.
Sure, styles make fights, and we certainly have a matchup of a couple different styles in this first professional fight of the night.
Seen many a above average wrestler defeat a really good striker just based on the matchup.
Sure.
And you see Connor just overextend and Dove immediately duck his head and grab a hold of him again. Dove really showing his strength here thus far, and the key to this fight so far, as he lets it go before I mention it, is Travis Connor with that whizzer. Now he has the whizzer on the right arm of Charles Dove. That's going to make it very difficult for Dove to get this fight to the ground. That really was the X factor when a lot of strikers who didn't necessarily have the wrestling background realized that they can use that whizzer to stay on their feet against a wrestler, and at least you're not getting put on your back on the mat. It gives you more of an opportunity to try to work your way.
So what you're
at
seeing
least from a
is
standing
we're
position.
seeing a tactical strategy from Connor, implementing a defense against Dove's very clear-cut preference for wrestling.
Yeah, and you know, Dove, I don't believe is going to disband his game plan at this point. I think he's going to keep trying to do the same thing, whether or not.
Why would he if he won the first round?
Exactly, and you know, both of Dove's wins as a pro are via decision, and that means, you know, he's not afraid to go all 3 rounds and try to win it on the judges' scorecards.
5. Okay. 3.
To the thigh there, not a ton of damage being done there, and kind of surprising the referee here, you know, and the referee not separating them. I'm never a big fan of separations, but
Never?
You know, this is really, I mean, I've always believed if you want to get out of a position, you've got to.
cliche,
Dove.
but you say styles make fights, and this looks like this could be turning into a heck of a matchup. You know the fans want to see standing and banging.
And that was the thing I am curious as to why Connor hasn't really been implementing more of those elbows now that Dove is sort of ducking his head. And there's a knee from Connor off of his back. But this is, you've seen fights won by guys just blasting. You see that left side of the head for Charles Dove is wide open.
Minute 45 left in the second of 3 5-minute rounds.
Travis Connor, and you see him wincing there, using a lot of strength to try to get Charles Dove off of him, and that takes a lot of energy for a guy. You know, they always say, and I guess it's wrestler strength. You know, you learn. It feels like a guy that might be only 180 pounds might feel twice as heavy, just because you know how to use your body weight and where to put the pressure and use your hips to kind of basically stymie your opponent. And that's exactly what's happening in this fight thus far as they separate again.
You're exactly right. If you've ever grappled with somebody who's a wrestling specialist.
And the thing with Connor, too, is you see him stalking Charles Dove, but he continues to just be really aggressive and almost kind of overextending himself and leaving those right hands out there. And that gives Dove the perfect opportunity to grab him again. And to be honest with you, that may be a sign of exhaustion or you know, him starting to slow down a little bit of the gas tank. He's just throwing those right hands and just leaving him out there, stepping through. Dove still unable to get this takedown here. But again, this is, you know, you're in an advantageous position here. Just a few seconds left to go in round two, and Dove may have 2 rounds in the bag thus far.
Much to the chagrin, we'll say, of the local support. Actually, you don't know how this fight will be judged, but I would agree with you. The wrestling of Dove has possibly or likely even dictated the pace of this fight.
Exactly, and you know, I think if you're Dove's corner, you say more of the same in the third round. Maybe
why
let's
try to get cute with it?
Maybe let's dump him on his butt to have enough opportunity to land those strikes when they separate. But he's almost kind of playing into the game of Charles Dove in this fight and really giving him a chance to continue grabbing onto him just by continuing to overextend on those strikes.
If you are Travis Connor's corner, what are you telling him right now?
Tell him you got to stay on the outside and pick your shots. I know you want to be aggressive and you want to finish the fight, and you know that.
So less of home run, less of swinging for the fences, if you will, to use an October baseball reference. More of an actual boxer or even a little Muay Thai kickboxing type of strategy for the striking.
Exactly. Round 3 here, 180-pound catchweight bout, Charles Dove and Travis Connor. And you see Connor doing a good job. I mean, the striking advantage, I believe, definitely is in his favor. But everything he's throwing is power. Everything is 100% power.
At the same time, you're thinking, if I'm Travis Connor, you know, maybe you lost those first 2 rounds. Are you thinking you need to end it?
I think you are thinking that, but I think you also think one clean shot.
It's not going to end it on a guy like this.
You know, I believe Travis Connor probably has a faith in his striking. You hear some of the boo birds here come out in the 3rd round. Of course, they want the hometown guy here, and the referee now, Rob Mooney, telling Charles Dove he's got to stay busy and stay active or he's going to separate them.
Just under 4 minutes left in this 3rd and final round between Charles Dove and Travis Connor. You and I both agree.
Now
Dove
Travis
has controlled the majority of the fight, mostly against the cage.
Yeah, and I believe we saw a little bit of Travis Connor complaining about the referee not separating them. But if you have enough energy to complain to the referee to separate the fight, I mean, you would think that you'd hope you have enough energy to get the guy off of you. I don't know, maybe it's just me. I know that some people, don't want to see a fight like this. And, of course, you don't want to see a fight, that really is in a stalemate position where a guy's unable to take another guy down and they fight up against the cage for 15 minutes. But, if you can't get the guy off of you, then really, that's a lot of times your job. Right, Travis Connor.
Oh, it looks
now
like
looking to try to open
Connor
up.
may have hurt Dove. This is what Connor wants. This is what Connor wants.
And this might be the beginning of the end, but Dove weathers that storm there.
Connor waving to his fans, trying to get some fan engagement.
The fans are starting to come alive here.
To give Dove credit, he did a good job of minimizing the space. He saw the onslaught of strikes, minimized the space.
That didn't necessarily trade, really was more defensive and just tried to grab onto Connor and was able to get it. A little over 2 minutes left to go here in this fight. Travis Connor trying to load up that big right hand.
Connor is trying to end this fight via strikes.
And Charles Dove trying to hang on and win the decision.
I think this third round's going for Connor. I don't know if the Connor fans should be too excited about.
There's the elbows
going
from
into the
Travis Connor on
round.
top. And Charles Dove back to his feet here.
Turned into a hell of a fight thus far.
This crowd trying to will Travis Connor. They trade the foot stomps there.
Travis Connor getting some advice from the crowd, saying step on his foot. And sure enough, he did.
A little bit of old school Marco Huas foot stomps there.
Doesn't feel good. Oftentimes you look at these fighters' feet after the bout, and they're very swollen.
Old coach Josh Williams said one of the most underutilized tactics in MMA. Guy does not like when you're stomping on his feet. Right in front of our broadcast position here. This has been the story of the fight thus far. And Travis Connor just throws Charles Dove off of him. 30 seconds left to go in this fight.
Got to say, Connor is winning the third round.
Yeah, it's definitely closer than the first two rounds. But I believe Connor may have to finish this fight here in this last few seconds if he wants to pick up the win.
This one will go to the judges' scorecards.
And the fans want to the
Decision in favor of the hometown kid.
tweet us and let us know hashtag HRMMA93 who you scored that fight for.
Good sportsmanship between Dove and Connor. I think it is. It is. They're both smiling. Hell of a war. 3 5-minute rounds. They both left it all out there.
Definitely see the mutual respect between the guys. And Charles Dove said, I knew if I was going to fight you, I had to be in shape.
Anytime a fight like that goes to the judges' scorecards, I personally default to saying, why not schedule a rematch?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of guys continuing to fight each other time and time again, but definitely
not a definitive win for either fighter.
And the judges are taking a little longer here to tally the scorecards. A lot of times that means that We have a split decision. Still waiting for the judges here.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 3 professional 5-minute long rounds, we go to the judges' scorecards. Judge Evans scores the bout 29-28. Dove.
I like the accountability where they actually read the.
29-28. Connor.
Okay. they read the scorecards with everyone's name, the judge's name.
29-28 for the winner by split decision in the red corner.
Consistent with what both David and I thought is that Charles Dove won the first 2 rounds, although it wasn't as decisive as one would wish for. The kid from Cincinnati came in and got a split decision victory over the hometown fighter. Charles Dove came in with a specific strategy and executed it.
Folks, your winner by split decision, Charlie Dove.
Very hard fought win there for Charlie Dove.
Go pick up your free class.
Moves up to 3-2 on his career, so above 500. Big win over a guy like Travis Connor.
Get a free ass whooping for 60 minutes.
And we are going to have this next bout with the ref cam. If you haven't checked out some of the Hardrock MMA ref cam videos on YouTube, definitely go check them out. Search Hardrock MMA and ref cam. Some awesome views from some of the previous fights here.
That's the cool thing about Hard Rock. We said the free stream brought to you by B2 Digital, trading at BTDG, but there are all sorts of different ways as Hard Rock closes in on their 100th show. They continue to add different elements of an upgraded technological approach to the viewership, as we have the ref cam for this upcoming professional fight, double screen instant replay for the viewers watching from at home. Hard Rock MMA is in a great place right now.
Yeah, the continued growth of mixed martial arts in Kentucky, and the whole area, and definitely Hard Rock MMA has been a huge part of that. You see the continued growth, and more shows, more and more venues, more and more events all over the place, and you see just the absolutely great shows. And you'll see later on tonight a couple of title fights. We got one more fight before our 2 title fights. Got Rowley Abbott coming out to the red corner, making his professional debut after 10 amateur bouts. Represents Hard Knocks MMA. Also the high school and middle school wrestling coach at Taylor County High School, and a 3-time All-American wrestler in college while at Campbellsville University. We talked a little bit about Rowley. Had 8 bouts and then took a couple of years off, came back earlier this year with a couple of quick knockout wins, and finally getting to make his pro debut here at Hard Rock MMA 93.
Pro debut after a 6-4 amateur career. Anytime you can say you're a 3-time All-American college wrestler, history says that normally translates very well to fighting inside the cage.
Yeah, you get wrestling. I believe a lot of people think is the best base for mixed martial arts, and it's proven pretty much time and again that wrestling really is one of the best bases and one of the best ways to get into mixed martial arts. You've seen the dominance of wrestlers. We saw dominance of a wrestler in our last fight.
Look no further than our previous bout, Charles Dove, with the victory over who you could say was maybe the more athletic, better striker, Travis Connor. The wrestling prowess of Charles Dove dictated the pace of the fight, and he walked away with the victory. I see Rowley Abbott, and I see an old school wrestler who is going to force his wrestling on his opponent. Harry Hunsucker, very interesting path to his current place. 1-2 as a professional, 7-3 amateur record. Had quite a hiatus.
Yeah, we haven't seen him since Hardrock MMA 77. He took on Dante Mays and was submitted due to strikes in the first round. Before that, he picked up a win over Kevin Powers, his only pro win thus far. And a guy who, you know, has that wrestling background, really kind of more prefers to slug and strike. So also a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu purple belt, black belt in Taekwondo and Krav Maga, and owns and teaches full-time martial arts at his gym, Elite Martial Arts, in Berea, Kentucky. So a guy who really, his entire life is basically surrounded by martial arts.
Also trains with 4 Seasons.
Yeah, I know he's been working with Michael Seals and Will Schneider and guys like that up at 4 Seasons. And you see some of the 4 Seasons guys in his corner here tonight as well. So
Absolutely no shame in losing to such an advanced striker. Dontel Mays made it to the Tuesday show with
Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series.
Yeah, Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series. Dontel did not advance on the show, but one of the most prolific strikers in the heavyweight division, really in the country.
Introducing first, fighting out of the red corner, weighing in at 235 pounds, fighting out of the School of Hard Knocks from Atlanta, Georgia, fighting out of Campbellsville, Kentucky, Rowley Rabbit Abbott. And introducing his opponent, fighting out of the B2 Digital Blue corner, weighing in at 242 pounds, representing Elite and 4 Seasons from Richmond, Kentucky, Harry Hunsucker.
Heavyweight action here, Hardrock MMA 93, Rowley Abbott in the black and gray, Harry Hunsucker in the red and black. Rob Mooney, your referee here. Hunsucker trying to start fast as Rowley Abbott looking for the takedown here. Abbott trying to drop down to a knee, get that takedown, but Hunsucker stays on his feet.
Very action-packed fight out of the gate.
Big right hand there from Rowley Abbott, lands flush. And Hunsucker now has his hands clasped and locked and takes Rowley Abbott to the ground.
These are 2 lean, mean heavyweights. I mean, this is no amateur heavyweight bout. These are 2 clear-cut professionals with plenty of energy, plenty of conditioning.
Harry Hunsucker on top lands a couple of shots, and I wanted to mention, you mentioned lean, mean. Rowley Abbott, but really probably more of a 205 fighter, and you see Harry Hunsucker, the big true heavyweight, on top here, really kind of imposing his will thus far.
Almost has an entire back mount. Now going possibly for the strikes from the back position, maybe set up a rear naked choke. He's got those hooks in. Harry Hunsucker on the top, maintaining back position. Straight to the back mount. That's not good for Abbott.
Now he has both of those hooks in. Flatten Rowley Abbott out.
You can see this fight end right here.
And Abbott taps 2 strikes there. Big win there for Harry Hunsucker. A year and a half out of the cage. Comes back and gets a big victory over the debuting Rowley Abbott.
We show a sportsmanship between both fighters. Like you said, February of last year to now it's October of 2017. Harry Hunsucker with the very impressive victory, the scramble, getting to back mount, and winning via strikes. Or I guess winning via submission, really. Submission due to strikes.
Exactly, yeah, tap out there.
Ladies and gentlemen, 1 minute, 21 seconds of the very first round. Your winner, tap out due to strikes,
Harry Hunsucker with the big victory there.
Abbott taking the microphone.
I'll be back. Watch me.
Rowley Abbott books your winner, the Hurricane, Harry Hunsucker.
Harry Hunsucker getting the medal there for the victory. Want to remind you, I'm David McKinney, joined by Kelly Patrick here at Hardrock MMA 93.
All right.
Gonna get to talk to Harry here.
Fast pace. You got your breath? All right. So you've been doing this for a while. How long? 10 years. All right, 10 years. So how old of a man are you? 28. 28. Had my first fight a month after I graduated high school. Nice. When did you go pro? About 2 years ago. 2 years. Well, he's got this. I want to start by thanking everybody who come out. They came out to watch. Coach Mike Seals, 4 Seasons, Will Schneider, Elite Martial Arts, my trainer Darcy back there. Give Darcy some love.
Clark 6-0 on his pro career, yet to taste defeat, and has been absolutely dominant in those bouts. 3 wins via knockout, 3 via submission. Last time we saw him was Hardrock MMA 83 last September, a knockout win over Donnie Wallace. Also has wins over Ken Beverly, Scott Dave, JP Felty, Matt Ryleman. Again, really one of the blue chip prospects, maybe one of the best prospects in the state of Kentucky right now, and really kind of one of the guys that not a lot of people know a lot about. Comes from a small camp, comes from Rob Nickerson's Reaction MMA, but really kind of a guy who's not super outspoken, really kind of lets his fist do the talking in the cage, and this is a really interesting bout here, between 2 guys who definitely could be on the next level, and the winner of this could be propelled to that next level.
It's difficult to predict how this will go because they say styles make fights. This isn't a clear-cut one style versus another. Both these fighters very well-rounded.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. I think that, maybe the one key X factor is Cameron is probably truly a 155-pound fighter. He's coming up to 170 for this fight. And Q Parks is a really big 170-pound fighter, massive guy, super, and
Ladies and gentlemen, it is your co-main event of the evening. Introducing first, fighting out of the red corner, presenting Team Heighton from Lebanon, Indiana, Cameron VanCamp.
I mean, you got to say, if there's a favorite, this is his more natural weight class. The bigger guy, Q Parks, 6-0 as a pro. You said it yourself, VanCamp's moving up from 155.
exactly. I mentioned a little bit earlier that I probably talked to a dozen people and asked them who was going to win, because this was, I think, the fight that most people were really looking forward to and saying, this is going to be a really good fight, really even matchup. And I think it was split down the middle of who thought each guy was going to win.
But you would agree Parks is probably the favorite?
Yeah, I think maybe a slight favorite here is Q Parks.
Wow.
See the kicks there early on from Q. Nice kick to the body there. Cameron VanCamp, I think if there's one advantage he definitely has in this fight, it might be the wrestling.
Okay.
and gets it to the ground now in side control here.
See how VanCamp can capitalize on the side control dominant position. Now Parks is using the cage with his right foot.
You see the big red welt already on the right leg from that leg kick, one of those leg kicks of Q Parks.
Also one of the more underrated aspects of MMA is those leg kicks.
Q Parks doing a good job though here, regaining his guard off of his back, using the cage here to try to sneak out. But VanCamp doing a good job pulling him away from the cage. Nice elbow there, short little elbow. Those are the strikes that can end fights quickly if you can cut your opponent.
In the professional ranks, even if you're in their guard, you slide some elbows in.
Q Parks was trying to work that high guard there, and you see just the ridiculous length of Q Parks able to.
He's got to be careful with those elbows. Was that close to being illegal, David?
The elbow, is that what you mean?
Yeah.
You know, it's going to be tough, you know, for a referee. Technically, the 12-6 straight down elbow is illegal, but
wow, very impressive sweep.
And that was just pure athleticism, I think, just strength, not a ton of technique behind that, but still able to get on top here. And now in mount, you see those grapevines here from Q Parks, and this is going to be a tough position for Cameron VanCamp to work out of.
Q Parks also engaging the hips. This is not a comfortable place for Cameron VanCamp.
But VanCamp, you see, you know, relaxing on the bottom here. Not a guy who's going to freak out. He's got 13 pro bouts under his belt.
About 2 minutes left in the first round of 3 scheduled 5-minute rounds.
And Q Parks I thought he was working his hips up to try to grab an armbar, but now throwing some strikes here on top.
Maintaining those grapevines when he can.
VanCamp now has Parks back in a half guard, looking to try to work now as a full guard. Butterfly guard on that right side and the foot on the left hip.
Very impressive jiu-jitsu on the ground for Cameron VanCamp. Got out of a very difficult situation.
Yes, control of Parks left.
Almost a triangle.
And this looks like it might be deep here.
Oh my goodness, does he have it?
Locked that in out of nowhere. This look at this, and Q Parks.
Oh
taps.
my goodness, what an impressive victory for Cameron VanCamp, locking in the triangle despite the size disadvantage. Cameron VanCamp showing his jiu-jitsu skills with the beautiful triangle in transition.
Off of his back, and that was definitely just VanCamp just staying patient there and waiting it out until he slipped that leg, the left leg past the shoulder of Q Parks.
How old is this VanCamp? I mean, that's a huge victory for a seemingly very young guy. It's amazing.
Cameron's 24.
It's amazing how 5 minutes ago we were discussing Q Parks being maybe the top prospect in the state. Still is. I mean, there's no shame in losing to somebody like Cameron VanCamp. But the story for tonight is Cameron VanCamp with the big victory over the previously unblemished Q Parks.
170-pound Hardrock MMA champ,
Cameron VanCamp, the first ever professional title holder for Hardrock MMA. Sure, he has much bigger goals in the sport than that, but it certainly feels good to
Definitely
have that belt around your waist.
A great place to start for Cameron VanCamp. Again, 24 years old. That's his 14th professional fight, and now the Hardrock MMA champion here. Now 4 victories in his last 5 fights.
Very classy display from Q Parks. He said 6-0, and this guy beat me. So giving all the respect in the world to Cameron VanCamp, and you have to agree with him. Very impressive victory for Cameron VanCamp. Let's hear what he has to say. Is Weinl going to give him the mic?
I think he may just do that.
Wow, he did. He jumped up a weight class, and all he did was submitted arguably the top prospect in the state.
Definitely the guys, the VanCamp guys love coming to Kentucky and playing spoiler here, and they love fighting for Hardrock MMA.
Finish of the night, would you say? Perfect back triangle, nice job. Once again, wheels on with the finish of the night.
Cameron VanCamp with a huge victory, and you got to say he's the MVP of the day so far. Only one pro fight left on the card. He got the finish of the night, walks away with the trophy there. He's got a belt around his waist. The VanCamp parents have plenty to be proud of today.
Also with Kyle picking up the victory earlier on in the night. I believe we have a fight of the night trophy here to give out.
See our man Brandon Hardrock Higdon in the cage, sporting the very stylish new Hardrock MMA V-neck T-shirts.
If there's any person to perfectly model that shirt, I think it's
yeah.
Brandon.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're one of them fancy things. Travis Conner still in the building. Travis Conner, there he is. Coach Travis Conner, Charlie Dove, fight of the night right here.
There's your fight of the night winners there, Travis Conner and Charlie Dove. Want to remind you once again as we head into our main event, give us your picks. Hashtag HRMMA93. Are you going with Julio Gallegos or Tony Parker in our main event 205-pound title fight? You put me on the spot last time, Kelly.
I did.
So I think it might be time for me to put you on the spot and ask you who you think is going to win this main event here.
I like to play to the crowd. I'm a people's person. I saw the support Julio Gallegos got when we were at the Northern Kentucky Convention Center earlier in the year. So I'm going to go ahead and go with who I'm sure will be the crowd favorite, Julio Gallegos.
Definitely hard to pick against the hometown guy, but one of the things I think that I've learned most about Tony Parker is he comes up and surprises you a lot of times when you least expect it. And, you know, that this would kind of fall into that category when you least expect it, coming into Julio Gallegos' hometown here and trying to pick up a win and maybe playing spoiler here.
Okay.
We
Is that
saw
what
it
you're doing?
in
You're
one bout.
Devil's advocate sounds like you're going with Parker.
I think it's going to be a good fight. I think two very veteran guys, you know, and it's tough to go against Julio Gallegos.
Such a very professional-centric card here from Hardrock MMA. Once again, Hardrock MMA 93 at Heritage Hall in Lexington. Been a great showing of fights tonight. We will be back here at Heritage Hall in Lexington March 3rd. We'll get to see Jamal Muhammad against Adam Fritz in the main event. But tonight for Hardrock MMA 93, I mean, you couldn't ask for much more. Better finishes, a better performance across the board from this card.
And I talked to the matchmaker Brandon Higdon earlier on the night, and he said that this is one of the best cards, maybe the best card that he's ever put together. And he was excited, you know, when the matchmaker gets excited about the fights and you see him light up and things like that, he says these are really, really talented, as far as some of the most talented fighters that have ever been put on a Hardrock MMA card. And I think that I have to agree, especially with this main event. You see Tony Parker coming down from Vision MMA. I mean, that's one of the best gyms, not only in the state of Ohio, but one of the best gyms in the world. They're consistently putting guys in Bellator, the UFC, things like that. Tony Parker is a guy who's been around for a long time as a pro, made his pro debut way back in 2010, and has 29 fights in that time. So, and a guy who also does not like to go to decision. So,
The simple formula that I take away from tonight, David for Hard Rock, Brandon Hard Rock Higdon, and obviously Vanessa, is spare no expense. Get some great pro fights on the card, and everything else will fall into place.
yeah, and I think that was kind of the idea behind this card is let's put some great fights. Let's put Julio Gallegos on the card and some of these up-and-coming really, really talented fighters. And then also, you know, put some talented amateurs on the card as well. You see a lot of veteran amateur fighters. That's kind of an oxymoron there, but definitely you see a lot of talented guys who one day you will see a lot of those guys in the pro ranks. Tony Parker in the cage going to bring out his opponent.
There's that local support for Julio Gallegos.
And Gallegos is a guy, if you give him a quick Google, has a really, really fascinating backstory. But one of the things I think that's most interesting about him is just basically how he's kind of dedicated his life to kind of helping other people. And recently opened up his own gym and foundation. Also still training with the Killer Bees at Georgetown MMA.
There's our mandatory second shout out, or third shout out for Adam Gomez.
But Gallegos is a guy who's fought on some of the biggest stages, and one of the things I actually, you know, earlier this year turned on a fight card. I didn't even know he was fighting on the card, but KSW over in Poland fought in a huge coliseum. This guy fought in front of 57,000 people on the same card that Mariusz Pudzianowski fought on. So definitely a crazy, you know, a guy who's been in front of a lot of people and fought, you know, in Russia, fought all over the place. But I think it's probably second to none being able to fight here in your hometown, in front of your hometown crowd, here at Hard Rock MMA 93. And not necessarily comparing it, but I think maybe in his mind, being able to fight at home probably is just as special, if not more special, than fighting on those big events. You've seen him on Access TV, XFC back in the day. And a guy who really has developed sort of a big kind of following as a guy who has, you know, really talented fighter, really heavy hands and strikes. But we actually saw him submit Joshua Thorpe back at Hard Rock MMA 91, and a lot of his wins are via submission after knocking a guy down and then submitting him. So definitely a really well-rounded guy is Julio Gallegos.
I walked away from that first ever event at the Northern Kentucky Convention Center on July 29th of this year thinking, my God, that guy's not from Cincinnati or Northern Kentucky. Where the hell did he get all this fan support?
And you've seen, you know, the official record for him is 9-5, but he has fights again that don't show up, and he has, you know, fights against UFC veterans like Rodney Wallace, fought Charles Duff, who we saw earlier on. Also has wins over Shane Prim, UFC veteran Hader Hassan. A lot of big-time fights on the resume of Julio Gallegos.
Weighing in 205 pounds, representing Vision MMA from Cincinnati, Ohio, Tony Hot and
Second matchup we've seen of Lexington versus Cincinnati. David, you're a Cincinnatian. Feel any emotional ties?
Know where I stand on that.
I'm a Kentuckian. No surprise, I chose Gallegos. You went on record as saying you choose Parker. Actually, to be accurate, I think you went on record as saying you think this will be a hell of a main event.
I definitely do think it will be. I tried to play politics a little bit. I usually don't like making picks, but I think that both guys, you know, either one of these guys would represent Hard Rock MMA extremely well as the light heavyweight champion.
First ever light heavyweight title matchup in the history of Hard Rock, 93rd show.
Tony Parker in the black with the red glove tape. Julio Gallegos in the black with the blue glove tape. And you see immediately those big shots there from Julio Gallegos. That's where he tries to start the game. You see a big left there, straight left from Tony Parker. Parker looking to try to duck and get the fight to the ground. Interesting note, both of these guys have fought down at 185 before as well, but decided to fight here up at 205 for the first light heavyweight title for Hardrock MMA.
Gallegos bringing the fight to Parker.
Big leg kick there from Gallegos. Inside leg kick. Guy just who has ridiculous power in both hands and also in his legs. Oh, and Gallegos overextended
his
there.
back to Parker. Is he going to go for the standing rear naked choke off?
He is trying to strangle him here. No hooks in, and Parker trying to finish this.
Every once in a while, that will work, David. That doesn't look like
Gallegos trying to survive here.
not your standard rear naked choke attempt.
Exactly. He just Gallegos just overextended on that. Parker grabbed a hold of him and took his back there. And now Parker's a guy, once he has you on the ground, it's hard to get up. He is a very heavy, experienced veteran wrestler, and you see a cut, I believe, on the forehead, maybe the nose of Julio Gallegos. And Parker now has the back, now trying to put the hooks in of Julio Gallegos. Has that wrist ride position there, both hooks in.
Going for a conventional rear naked choke.
And Gallegos is gonna have to start fighting hands here. One of the benefits of mixed martial arts and having those gloves, hand fighting is very easy in mixed martial arts as opposed to traditional jiu-jitsu.
Now we'll get to see Gallegos have the opportunity to use your standard procedure for getting out of a rear naked choke, was trying to get your shoulders to the mat.
Shoulders to the mat and work, continue to fight hands and peel one leg off of you at a time. Parker, I believe, just has one hook in at this point. Hard to tell from our vantage point. And Gallegos trying to turn into Parker here. Parker still has his back.
The crowd comes alive as Gallegos almost muscles his way out of the position. Very impressive defense from Julio Gallegos.
Very good job. And just stayed calm there. I mean, fought his way out, and that is under the left eye there of Gallegos. Probably not going to stop the fight, but that's a big cut. Parker now in guard.
2 minutes left in the first of 3 5-minute rounds in this first ever Hardrock MMA professional title fight for the light heavyweight division.
Parker now working off of his back. A couple of shots there from the bottom of Tony Parker. He's definitely staying active. Gallegos now stands up out of the guard of Tony Parker. Eats an up kick there.
Tony Parker proving he's no...
He may be looking to try to get an arm triangle here.
Parker with the half guard. And even beyond that, almost an aggressive half guard. He's engaging Julio Gallegos' head, minimizing the distance, preventing Gallegos from executing those blows he wants to. Although
now,
it looks like he is trying for the elbows.
Now, I was going to say Gallegos looking for the elbows,
which can be devastating. That's why they say half guard a lot of times in MMA isn't the greatest strategy.
Yeah, people, and on top, I mean, people love half guard in MMA. A lot
Sure.
of guys love it even more because big shots there from Gallegos.
Oh my goodness.
As Parker tries to recover.
What a card, what a light heavyweight bout.
I told you
the
this
main
was
event.
of course it's the main event, but a sneaky good fight between two really veteran, crafty guys. And Gallegos looked like he was maybe trying to
heel hook?
Yeah, heel hook there. Show you he has everything in his arsenal.
Both of these guys, very impressive in all facets.
And we're still in the first round.
Hell of a first round for this main
Wow.
event. Hardrock MMA 93, first ever light heavyweight title fight between Tony Parker and Julio Gallegos.
And that's a
Who
tough
wins
one
that?
to score. I mean, you look at the damage on the left eye of Gallegos and also the really deep submission attempt, but how much credit do you give Parker for the submission attempt, or how much credit do you give Gallegos for being able to get out of survive the submission attempt?
What's most important is what will these judges, how will they credit? Parker had a very early, actually a couple attempts at a rear naked choke, But do you give him credit for that from the judges?
Yeah, I think you do. I think you say that, you're staying aggressive. For the guy to get out of it, really, it's a defensive position. Of course, you give him props to get out of the submission, but I think most judges will give the guy who is trying to be the aggressor and trying to finish the fight.
On the contrary, I have judged in the state of Kentucky, and my formula was simple. Who did the most damage? And from that perspective, you can make an argument.
But you also say
Gallegos made more damage.
That's true. I mean,
but you look at his eye
yeah,
also.
Exactly.
So what a first round. What a first round.
I don't like the 10-10 round, but that's a very close to a 10-10
yeah,
round.
I'm with you on that. It could go either way. A little bit of a feeling out process. The beginning of the second 5-minute round.
It's a very similar start to how the first round finished, or started, excuse me. You see Gallegos, both of these guys with their hands pretty low. Big overhand right. You heard the thud. And Parker's a guy who doesn't really put a ton into his shots. I mean, he uses a lot of his shots to try to open up his grappling, a little bit more of his ground game, but landing some shots here against Julio Gallegos, and of course, again, that mouse under the left eye proves the point that he's been landing some shots here in this fight.
Parker not shying away from the striking.
Pumping that jab out there. Corner loves that jab. There's a big left hand.
Difficult
backing
fight
up by
to call.
Parker.
Difficult fight to call, because the second I start to think Parker wants this on the ground at all costs, he's throwing with him.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing is he doesn't want to be on his back on the ground. He doesn't want to make a mistake and end up on his back.
A la the half guard he was in.
And the other big thing too is that every time Gallegos throws that leg kick, it's landing and Parker's not checking it yet, and those are buckling Parker every time he throws them. They're really affecting Tony Parker every time. He does not like those. I don't know anybody who does like getting kicked in the leg, but
I don't know if you've ever been kicked in the leg by someone who knows what they're doing. No, it's not enjoyable.
And that's some bobbing and weaving there from Gallegos.
Parker smiling.
Definitely a different round here in round number 2.
Oh, yeah.
Again, Hardrock MMA 93 main event, Tony Parker and Julio Gallegos. Light heavyweight title on the line.
You think this is a result of a very taxing first round?
Yeah, and these are two big guys as well. And the other interesting thing, too, is it's very much a chess match when you're striking in general, but also when you have a southpaw against an orthodox guy. You don't want to make that mistake and have a shot land right down the pipe. Parker now looking for the single, and Gallegos with a
standing
guillotine. Exact same thing he finished Josh Thorpe with in his last fight, and now it wins him the Hardrock MMA light heavyweight title. Parker just shot in too low and got caught, and Gallegos once again shows that his submission game is on point.
What a fight. What a first round, and it looked like maybe they were both a little bit gassed in the second round.
Great fight. I think they might be doing a little bit of commentary of their own in the cage. That's one thing I always love to see is, guys, you see the respect of the fighters after the fight. And Julio Gallegos, you hear the chants from his hometown crowd here of Julio.
Let's give it up for both your 205-pound opponents. Ladies and gentlemen, 2 minutes, 58 seconds of the second round.
Rock MMA has showed no signs of slowing down. We'll always remember the first ever light heavyweight champion was Julio Gallegos.
And I believe, Julio is a guy who has tasted some success at the next level, and he might be a guy who's right back there again. A couple of nice submission wins, win over Josh Thorpe, win over a really tough Tony Parker. He might be right back on that doorstep of a Bellator or UFC.
Does he stay at 205?
I think he's really more of a natural 185-pound fighter, but he can fight really at either weight class.
Once again, a standing ovation from in the main event. Gallegos correcting our man Jason Weidel, saying I'm not 5'8", I'm 5'10".
Guess what? I still keep it as a day, and I believe my guillotine will be and still beat the shit. Excuse my language. All right, anybody you want to thank? Thank Hardrock. I'd like to thank you guys. Y'all thank the Foundation MMA. Big Johnson, my boy Cody, Gavin. Y'all see that kick?
Yeah.
Thank you very much for joining us at Hardrock MMA 93. Thank you to our production team, Tim, Bryan, and Matt McCarthy from Live Sportscaster. Also want to thank the third member of our broadcast team, Jason Weidel. I'm David McKinney. He's Kelly Patrick. Hardrock MMA 94 will be November 4th in Bowling Green, Kentucky. See you then.